Hey everybody, welcome to a new episode of Sipping with Jeremy. And today we're going to be reviewing the Origin series of whiskeys from Bardstown Bourbon Company. You've probably heard of Bardstown Bourbon Company over the last 10 years or so from their Discovery and their Fusion series. Those are both series in which they would take barrels from distilleries from across America. They even went to Canada for one, I believe, or at least one, and then blend them together, showing the art of blending whiskey. In the Discovery series, they would just take whiskeys from other distilleries and blend them together. In their Fusion series, they would take whiskeys from other distilleries and blend it together with their younger whiskey that they were aging. And that is what we see here. This is the Origin series. So these are all whiskeys that were made by Bardstown Bourbon Company in Bardstown, Kentucky. And we are going to be trying their High Wheat Bourbon, their Bond Bourbon, their Bourbon, and their Rye Whiskey. Let's go ahead and get started with the High Wheat Bourbon. As you can guess from the name, the High Wheat Bourbon from Bardstown Bourbon Company does have a lot of wheat in its mash bill, which is 53% corn, 39% wheat, and 8% malted barley. It is aged for a minimum of 6 years. Let's go ahead and give it a try. This bourbon has a really nice soft entry, which allows a lot of the flavors to evolve with the palate. It really starts with some salted caramel that turns into some red apple, softer kind of cocoa nib. There is some oak spice in there since there is no rye in the mash bill. You know that spice is coming from the oak, but just a lot more of those chocolatey flavors. There's a little bit of a toffee flavor too, but that salted caramel and apple are kind of the more predominant flavors in this and definitely linger on the palate. It does kind of give you a little bit of a cereal grain mouthfeel as well, so it's like a little bit of that kind of like breakfast cereal mouthfeel after some milk too. Just making this a really interesting kind of whiskey that develops on the palate as you're enjoying it. Now let's go ahead and move on to the Bottle and Bond Bourbon. The Bottle and Bond from Bardstown Bourbon Company is also considered a wheated bourbon because the mash bill is 68% corn, 20% wheat, and 12% malted barley. Since it is a Bottle and Bond, it is bottled at 100 proof. It is also made from ingredients that were all sourced within a 6-month period of each other. So I've talked about Bottle and Bond before. I'll make sure to add the links below so you can hear more about that. But yeah, this fits all the markings of a Bottle and Bond bourbon, aged for a minimum of 6 years, which is 2 years older than your standard requirement for a Bottle and Bond bourbon. Let's go ahead and give the Bardstown Bourbon Company Bottle and Bond a try. There's a fun and unique combination of like raspberry fruit with a little bit of mango up front, softer kind of honey characteristics, little bit of spice from the oak. I would say there's also a more of a toasted toffee flavor profile here too. So this has a lot of soft, sweeter characteristics to it for being a 100 proof bourbon, which will help with people who are afraid of that higher proof. Let's go ahead and move on to the Bardstown Bourbon Origin Bourbon. The Bardstown Bourbon Company Origin Bourbon is a mash bill of 60% corn, 36% rye, and 4% malted barley. So this would be considered a high rye bourbon. Let's go ahead and give it a try. So there definitely is a really nice, vibrant note of rye up front. You get that rye spice that hits you. That transitions into some softer kind of mango fruit, a little bit of honey, a little bit of orange zest, some softer kind of like gray tea notes there too. So that rye just isn't just rye spice up front. It turns into what I like to call secondary spice characteristics. And that definitely is one of them, is just that savoriness of the tea there. Just gives you this nice kind of like bergamonty kind of characteristic too. Again, that fits in well with that orange zest that I mentioned before. So there's just a lot of like layering and developing of flavors here that just kind of like play on top of each other really nicely. Now let's go ahead and move on to the Rye Whiskey from Bardstown Bourbon Company. Bardstown Bourbon Company's Rye Whiskey is aged for a minimum of 6 years and is a mash bill of 95% rye and 5% malted barley, which is your standard mash bill for ryes nowadays. But they have a very distinct finishing process that they do, where after it's finished maturing, they finish this whiskey for 6 months in what they call a zebra barrel. And what the zebra barrel is it is a combination of American oak and cherry wood together. And basically every other stave is the opposite. So they'll have an American oak stave, a cherry wood stave, American oak stave, cherry wood stave, all the way around. And so when you look at it from the inside, it's kind of like a striped zebra. And that is what they finish this whiskey in to give a little bit of a different characteristic than your standard typical American rye. Let's go ahead and give this one a try. So not surprising with this mash bill that rye is the first flavor profile that really hits your palate. Just big, bold rye flavor up front. Then there's some really nice anise kind of spice to this. There's a little bit of green apple, softer kind of caramel. And then on the back end, there's just that little bit of like cherry, a little bit of dark fruit. Kind of reminds me of like the syrup that you get from like the Luxardo cherries, or the cherries that you use in cocktails. Just a little bit of that syrup kind of on the back end. It gives you a little bit of that dark fruit note. And a little bit of that richness too. So it kind of rounds out this flavor profile in the finish. All right, y'all, that's going to wrap up this episode of Sippin' with Jeremy. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Below, you will find links to our website where you can purchase these Bardstown Bourbon Company products. If there are any videos that I've done in the past with anything from them, I will put them below. I can't think of any that I've done, but if I have, I'll put it below for you. Thanks for watching, y'all. Hope you had a good time. Have a great day, and please do not forget to drink well.